Je reggelt kívánok! Hogy vagy? Jó? Hmm. Hmm. That's good. Actually, maybe I put a little too much coffee in there today. I got to tell you, it's a little bit confusing. They have that thing of coffee there, and they don't say, one scoop, one scoop, one scoop, two scoops, or whatever it is. But anyway, hmm. Start of another day. Looks like it's going to be a beautiful day today. Sun is coming out. Today is moving day. Today I am moving from, hello, how are you? Today I am moving just down the street. I'm moving over to Taylor Street. And I'm staying with this older lady today. Good morning. I'm staying with this older lady today. I think her name is Gaynor or something, Gaynor or something. And she looks to be like a retired lady. And she lives in a rather modest house. I don't think she's married. She's probably well into her 60s. And I found her on Airbnb. And it's a modest accommodation. It's only about 35 US dollars per night. And it looks like she's got a lovely home, to be quite honest with you. There's a picture of her sitting there knitting in a chair. There's a picture of an old wood burning fire stove, with the logs on. There's a picture of a garden. There's a picture of a big rectangular wooden kitchen table and what have you. And I'm going to go stay with her. And when you make a request on Airbnb, usually you request to stay there for whatever time period, 1 day, 2 day, 3 day, whatever. So you make the request, and then the host gets that request, and they get to check you out to see whether or not they want you staying with them or not. And oftentimes they'll read your reviews and see what kind of a person that you are. It'd be interesting if not if, but when I die, if they were to, if instead of giving a eulogy, they were to just read the reviews from my Airbnb, they that would probably tell people a lot as far as the type of guy that I am. I think I've got about I think my review rating, I don't know how many reviews I've got. I've got hundreds, I think. But on Airbnb, I think my review rating is like 4.9 out of 5 or something like that. But that's what they could do at my funeral. They could just stand up and just take turns reading my Airbnb my Airbnb reviews. So there you go. But hmm. But I'm staying with this woman today and tomorrow actually. And I actually drove by. Once you make the booking, there was a short time window where I could make a cancellation. I could cancel my reservation. So I actually went and drove by her house, just kind of looking at the neighborhood and everything. And it was an okay neighborhood. It was just your typical, typical working class neighborhood. Nothing special, nothing scary. And her home is just a typical home. But she made when she accepted my invitation, she did so in saying that I am the first post post COVID guest that she's had at her house. And that kind of struck me as odd. I mean, that the fact that somebody would say, you're the first post COVID. And that's, to some extent, that's the mindset of a lot of the Aussies down here. It is. I know that that's anything close to the mindset of people in the majority of places around the world. But, to Aussies, with 7,000 cases. Thank you for correcting me the other day. The other day I said Australia had had 700,000 cases. Australia has had 7,700 cases. Wrap your head around that for a moment. Okay, I'll wait. Okay. Did you get your head wrapped around that? 7,700 cases. That's when you hear the numbers, I think in the United States the other day they had 50,000 cases in a day. 50,000 cases in a day. And Australia has had 7,700 cases since this whole thing started. And I just it's just hard to believe. But anyway, so the woman had made the mention to me in her comment, in her reply or acceptance, that I'm her first COVID guest, and she would ask that I would respect social distancing and all that kind of stuff. And you know what? As I was going to cancel it, to be quite honest, I was going to cancel it. I was going to go book a place for New Florida Daily Record 10,000. Yeah, I was gonna cancel the. Good morning, Claudia. I was gonna cancel the booking, but to be quite honest with you, I didn't. And this may sound, I don't know, to some of you, this may sound strange or unbelievable or whatever, but as I drove down the street, I thought to myself, you know what? Maybe this woman needs the income. Maybe this woman needs the $100. Maybe she's afraid to open her door, post COVID, but maybe she needs the income. I don't know. Maybe she doesn't. Maybe she's lonely and just wants some company or something like that. But you know what? I told her, I replied back to her, and I said, I of course I'll be, conscientious of, respecting your wishes, and I just want a place to lay my head for a couple nights, and that's it. And I'm thinking to myself, it'd probably be a nice gesture to show up wearing a mask. That would probably ease her mind a little bit. You don't wear a mask to protect yourself. You wear your mask out of common decency and courtesy and respect, for other people. And here this woman is welcoming me into her home, and she said no meat or fish is allowed. I can't cook any meat or fish. No meat or fish. That's rule number one as far as staying in the house. I think she's from Holland, if I'm not mistaken. I think she's Dutch. I could be mistaken, but I think I read in her profile that she's Dutch. And me being the world traveler, I'll walk in and I'll say, "Hoi," which is what they say over there in Austria or in the Netherlands, "Hoi." But anyway, oh goodness gracious, what else is on my mind? I got to tell you, Savannah is always on my mind. Interestingly enough, I was telling my mom yesterday. I said, Mom, my mom had the opportunity to meet Savannah on a chat. We should do a Zoom meeting. Or any of you out there would any of you out there be up for doing a Zoom meeting? If I set up a Zoom meeting for some of us where we could all talk amongst one another, I'm kind of curious to know how many of you, if any of you, would do a Zoom meeting with me. My mom could join in. My mom would join in. We could do a nice little Zoom meeting. Oh, goodness gracious. Put that in your comments. But I was telling my mom yesterday, I said, Mom, you know what? I said, if you took all the good qualities from all the women that I've dated over the years and rolled them into one, that would be Savannah. That would be Savannah. She has all the good qualities of everyone that I've dated over the years. And And it's interesting. And people will look at me, I'm sure, and think that I'm sure there's some people out there that'll look at me and think that I'm a bit foolish to you know be going down the road of a virtual romantic relationship with a woman I've never met halfway around the world. I'm sure there's people out there that are just kind of scratching their head about that whole situation. But stranger things have happened. Stranger things in this world have happened, and like I was telling my mom, Silvana could be the one. Time will tell about that. Honestly, I mean, time will tell whether or not Silvana is the one or not. It falls under the category of let go, let God. A lot of people in life have a really hard time with that. A lot of people in life have a really, really hard time of just letting go and letting God. And that's how I that's how I feel with Silvana. Is what will happen will happen. But it's been a long time. It's been a long time since a woman's affection has inspired me to write love letters. And that's what I've done over the last several days. Is my fingers have become extensions of my soul, and I've sent Silvana love letters. She loves getting my love letters. I write them when I know she's asleep, and she'll wake up in the morning, and I write them. And I'm being careful not to write them every day, because then she'll come to expect that. I'm just getting to the point where I'm just kind of randomly writing her these nice little love letters. And in a recent letter I wrote to her, I said, the world may be going to hell in a handbasket. We may be worlds apart. We may, not meet for months. We may not meet we may not meet ever. I said, but the one thing that we share together, that no one can take away from us, it's hopes and dreams. Hopes and dreams. We can hope, we can have that mutual hope. We can have that shared dream that one day, all this stuff will end. And we'll have the opportunity to, be together. So, I wonder if Silvana would join us on a Zoom meeting. That would be interesting. I wouldn't let Skip Smith in. No way. There's not a chance in hell. If we did a Zoom meeting, I'd let Sue Smith in. But if we did a Zoom meeting, where we get all these little squares on the screen and everybody's talking and all that kind of stuff, it'd be interesting to see. Silvana could be on it, my mom could be on it, everybody could be on it, except Skip Smith. I don't want Skip Smith to be anywhere near Silvana. Nowhere near her. Oh, goodness gracious. So that's about it. Another thing on my mind is I watched a heartbreaking video about the situation in New York. And what's interesting? I'd like to ask some of you folks that are older than myself. 1968, I guess there were a lot of riots across America. 1968. I was 5 years old. I was worried about, if I was going to get the space capsule with the astronaut outfit for my G.I. Joe. I used to have a G.I. Joe. And with the G.I. Joe, you would, for birthdays, okay, I want the underwater scuba, submarine, that I can put my G.I. Joe in. Or I want the space capsule. That was my favorite. That was really my favorite, was the G.I. Joe space capsule. That rocked. That was better than anything that Eric Wuchter had, or Chris Standish had, or Doug Lou had, or Mike Fitzsimons had. Those were all the kids in my neighborhood. And when I got that G.I. Joe space capsule, oh my goodness. But, oh, I'm losing my trend of thought. But the 1968, that was my trend of thought. 1968, when I talk to people back home being America, when I talk to people back home and I tell them I just can't believe what I'm seeing. And, you have some people that say, yeah, it's bad. It's really bad. Be glad you're over there. Be glad you're down there in Australia. You get those people. And then you get the people that say, oh, it's not that bad. It's not that bad. Don't listen to the media. Don't listen to the media. And then you get the people that say, yeah, well, this is no different than 1968. We had the same thing in 1968. It'll pass. So those are like the three classifications of people that you get when you're talking to folks back home about the situation. But I was watching the situation in New York last night, and I was speechless. I just could not believe what I was seeing. It was a crowd, mostly of young black men. That's what I saw, mostly of young black men, walking around with their pants down around their knees, dancing in the street, kind of, I don't know, I don't even know if you would call it dancing. It was just downright scary. The scene that I saw was just downright scary. And then the scene, as the scene unfolded, good day, as the scene unfolded, they were throwing stuff at the police cars. They're just throwing all this stuff, bottles and all this stuff. They're throwing all this stuff at the police cars. And what are the police cars doing? They're slowly backing up. I'm thinking, backing up? What are you doing backing up? Why are you retreating? Are you just going to let them have their way? Are you just going to let them? And as I watched it, it was just in disbelief. I just couldn't believe it. And I'm thinking to myself, they're cutting $1 billion? They're cutting $1 billion. Would you want to live in New York? I'm just saying, I've got a family member that lives in New York. Maybe two of them, I think. I don't know. But for Christ's sake, would you want to live in New York? And the way that I see the scenes in New York and some of these other places, the question may be not, would you want to live in New York, but would you want to live in the United States of America? I look at that, and don't get me wrong, I am as American can be. Red, white, and blue, and I pledge allegiance, and land that I love, and stand beside her, and all that kind of stuff. I love America. But as you look at all this stuff happening, it's like, you just can't help but to ask yourself, would you want to live in a society that is just coming apart at the seams? And I haven't seen any press conferences with the leadership of New York. Isn't it de Blasio and Cuomo or whatever? Aren't they all worried about shutting down the border and quarantining people that come in from states like Florida and California and stuff like that? Aren't they all worried about that? As I looked at that crowd last night, I don't know, several hundred people, I wondered, how many of those people are positive for coronavirus? Just kind of curious. How many of those people walking around with their pants down around their knees, dancing, like animals in the streets, and shouting and throwing things and picking things up and all that kind of stuff. You know, I mean, they're picking up stuff, they're picking up stuff off the ground that other people had touched and all that kind of stuff, and they're throwing it around and whatever. How many of those people you think have coronavirus? 5%? 10%? I don't know, you know, but let's just say 5%. So let's say the crowd is 1,000 and you have 50 people in a crowd of 1,000 people that have COVID. 50 people in a crowd of 1,000. And every person that has COVID gives it to two other people in the crowd. And those two other people in the crowd go out into the community. Well, where is the leadership of New York in saying that this isn't good? This isn't good. We're fighting a pandemic. We can't have people running around the streets with their pants around their knees, yelling and chanting and all that kind of stuff. So I don't know. So the question, boy, I'm covering a large range of topics today. I hope you're taking notes. So 1968, is today worse, the same, not as bad as 1968? I couldn't tell you because I was playing with my G.I. Joe in the space capsule. But boy, Chris Standish was so jealous. He was so jealous when he saw my space capsule with the G.I. Joe. He had the Jeep. He had the outdoor adventure Jeep with the camping gear for his G.I. Joe. But I had the space capsule. That is what is spreading at the protest beaches and bars, But anyway, so it's on with my day. There was a gentleman that reached out to me last night via Facebook. You just never know who's watching my videos. Sometimes that can be scary. But there was a gentleman that reached out to me last night. I want to say his name was Paul. I could be mistaken. But he was from Nelson Bay, and his family has a rental there in Nelson Bay somewhere. And he had reached out to me about the possibility of contacting him regarding renting it, I'm assuming. But anyway, so that's where I'm headed. I'm headed back. I'm 90% sure that I'm headed back down to Nelson Bay. Do you remember Fingal Bay? You remember Fingal Beach, the old men fishing on the beach? And just the serenity and the peacefulness and the tranquility of Port Stevens and Nelson Bay. And when I think about that area, I keep going back. Over the last several years, ever since I first came to know Nelson Bay several years ago, it's just been a place in my head. It's been a place in my head that I've just thought about for whatever reason. And little did I know that I might have been visualizing this whole thing where I'm, staying in Nelson Bay. But I'm 90% sure that I'm going to go back there and just hunker down for the better part of 3 months. Maybe I'll go out whale watching again with Frank. I hear the whales are in their peak in August. But we will see. I'm going to spend some time today and tomorrow. It was worse today because 1968 only had dial-up telephones. Today we have internet. Mark, that's why I let you on my channel, because of your insight. You have the sharpest insight. You do. That's why I keep you around, Mark. Because you're the wisest one of us all. You with all of your endless shelves of books, what have you, as you sit there, smoking your pipe in front of the fire. That's the vision I have of you, Mark. This elderly gentleman who kind of draws very slowly from his pipe and what have you. I was watching The Crown on Netflix, and the Prime Minister, I don't know what his name was, the Prime Minister of England, he was a lefty. He was telling the Queen in one episode that he smokes a pipe because because of the image that it portrays. You know, whereas Winston smoked a big cigar, you know, this guy chose to smoke a pipe. And anyway, my dad smoked a pipe for a while. So, all right, I need to get on with my day. You know what I'm doing this morning? I'm going to go for a walk and talk. I'm going to take my camera. I'm going to go out and find myself something to eat for breakfast. Now I'm going to take you along. I'm just going to do a walk and talk through the Straits of Armadale. I know I would regret it if I didn't do it otherwise, and what have you, but I'm just going to take you for a little walk. Armadale is known, I think, as the city of churches. I think they're known for all of the churches that they have here. So let's see. Remember, the Black Panthers are called the New Black Panthers. Are the back called the New Black Panthers? Exactly. But anyway, all right, everybody. So take good care. Let's do a Zoom meeting together. Wouldn't that be interesting? Oh God, we'd have to have a moderator. I think I'd have Mike Armstrong. You know, with a name like Armstrong, I think we'd have Mike as the moderator because nobody's going to mess with a guy with the name Armstrong. No. I'd have Skip Smith be the moderator, but then I'd run the risk of his path crossing with Sylvana's, and we can't have that. Cannot run the risk of Skip Smith coming across Sylvana, at least not before I meet her. You know, because once I meet her, you know, then all bets are off. You know. So anyway, take good care, everybody. Thanks for letting me share your day with you. All right, bye-bye. I need a sweater like Mr. Rogers. You know, that's what I need. I need a sweater like Mr. Rogers. All right, take good care. As my dad would say, I love you all.